Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Live with Jen and Joe. Um, I'm one of your hosts, Joe.
I'm Jen.
And today, guys, we have a really awesome topic we're going to dive into today. How to work with realtors and creative finance. So we got some deals we're working on right now. Super happy to go over this topic because as moving forward, I think this is going to be something really important. Obviously, if you are listening now, we have our Creative Finance Playbook YouTube channel. Make sure you get subscribed to there. Got a lot of great content on there. We're on all of the podcast platforms, Creative Finance Playbook as well. And then we have our Facebook group, Creative Finance Playbook with Jen and Joe. So if you want to check out some of these deals, be part of the action, see what's going on. Guys, there's a lot of great stuff going in that group. A lot of our clients share deals like that in that group too. So if you're not already a part of there, definitely check that out. And creativefinanceplaybook.com. So we got some great resources out there for you guys, especially if you want our scripts. They're on there for free. Just go download it. So today, without further ado, we're going to talk about realtors, creative finance, right? How do we get this to happen? How do we make this connection happen? Because many times, if you're a realtor, sometimes investors could be annoying. Sometimes if you're an investor, realtors won't want to deal with you. But that's not always true. And it's actually far from it, right? Wherever everybody's in the business to help sellers to make some money and high five each other at the end of the day. And I have to say, I wish it was always just that easy because it's not always, but we have found some ways that will certainly make a difference. Okay. And that's what we're going to dive into. So, and what do we know about this topic? Well, we have a deal that we're closing right now, guys, that I found on the MLS, listed with a realtor in Rochester, New York. The address is 106 Conrad Drive. You can look it up. It's pending now, should be at least because the attorney approved the paperwork on it. But I found this house that was listed where the seller bought it recently within the last year and I think 3 or 4 months. And then I saw that on Zillow, whoever owned it, they had it rented, or at least they put it up for rent at one point about a year later, and then put it right up for sale. So when I see somebody who bought a house recently, and then within a year or so, they want to rent it or sell it, I kind of have like a flag that goes off my head. Said this person really just wants some debt relief.
Mm-hmm.
They want this payment off their back, rather they get rid of the property or rather they rent it, right? And a lot of times that's what we call an accidental landlord. And we know all about that because that's happened to us. When I met Jen, I owned my own house, and you.
I own my own house, and I had a friend living with me. She was helping me pay my mortgage, and he didn't want to move into my house. His was a little nicer, bigger. So me and my dog moved in with Joe, and then all of a sudden I'm an accidental landlord. And that can be a tricky spot, especially if finances aren't flowing really well. And, especially in this market, things can happen pretty quickly or not.
Yeah, so you'll find a lot of investors right now. I always say there's two different lumps to investors, right? You have the folks who are doing this for a living. This is their business. They have a portfolio of some size. And then you have some other folks who are accidental landlords who are technically on the radar of real estate investor because they own a rental property, but that wasn't their intention while buying it. So, but when you see these things going on, I see a red flag. I get a hold of the realtor by just looking it up on Zillow. Guys, their phone numbers are right on there. Pretty simple.
Yeah. And if you could explain real quick, like where do you find the information that it was listed and rented and listed?
So great question. When I go on Zillow and I'll see a house is currently for sale, I'll look at some that have done price reductions. So when I look for houses that are for sale, I'll look for houses that have had price reductions. What does that mean? House is obviously for sale and they're not selling it, so they're dropping the price. And then when I look at it, I open up all the listings. And then when I do that, I kind of scroll down and I scroll to the part where it says price history. And the one thing I love about Zillow, it's going to, open it up and it's going to show you the pricing history. Usually when they bought it, when did they buy it? What did they pay for it? Now, not every state discloses all of that information. There's some what they call non-disclosure states where they don't show you what they paid for it. Many times they'll at least say what it was listed for. So if a property was listed for 200,000 and you see it went under contract within a few days, then you'd realize, it probably sold for close to that price. But most of the time I could see what it sold for when they bought it. So now when I start looking at what's currently on the market, I've seen how long it's been listed for with the realtor and what's that history been like. And many times what I've noticed is I'll find some where they've tried listing it as for rent and for sale or for rent and back and forth. And they're just looking to get out of the house. And I will tell you, every time I see that, I call that realtor every single time. I'm going to share with you guys too a prop stream search that I do, because some of you may have prop stream, some of you don't. But if you do, I have a really good search that this is exactly how I found this deal, which is really, really helpful too. But the key to it, guys, it's not the search, it's not all the things, because yes, that's really important. But it is, how do you contact the realtor? What's the best course of action? They are a busy person too, and their job is they want this thing sold. But how do we do it the right way? Right. And I think that's super important. I see a lot of threads on all these Facebook groups where, you see some folks say, when I talk to realtors, they just say, I'm not interested, and they hang up on you right away. And then in other times you could see in some of these Facebook groups where they have some success. So what I would say from personal experience, they're still a human being. You have to treat people with respect. And the key to sales, guys, I've been a sales trainer my entire life, just about, and I did it with my last job. And one of the things that would always drive me crazy is when I'd see a salesperson sitting with a customer, and they're always really nice. They're always really friendly, especially when they're hearing yeses, right? That they're always bubbly and happy. But what happens when you hear no? What happens when you're not doing business? Do you turn into Mr. Grumpy Face or Mrs. Grumpy Face, right? Do you lose that enthusiasm, right? Because I will tell you, when you do that or start being rude, you're going to lose that 100%. You just put your nail in the coffin. That's all she wrote, right? So the real true gift when you're dealing with folks is be super nice and be friendly and be helpful, whether you can do business or not. And I will tell you, there's a lot of people that we talk to, guys, that we do not do business with more than do. And we're extra nice to the people who we don't do business with, because it's always leaving the door open for maybe we could connect down the road. And even if we don't, that's still fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the kind of money to buy everyone's house every single time. I wish I did. I don't, unless you guys want to start giving us more, but that's a different story.
But the point you're making, I think, is so almost like overlooked, is really having that kind heart and knowing that, like, at the end of the day, we're all people, because, no one likes hearing the word no. No one likes, not getting the deal, but it's how you're going to compose and handle yourself. And I think that can be really tricky for people.
So I agree. So that's why, once again, if they say no to you, fine. That's okay. Maybe they're even having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just lost their family member. You don't know what's going on in somebody's life. So no matter how they treat you, you can't control that, but how you could treat them, you can control, right? So just always mind that. So how I initially start the conversation, guys, it's super, super simple. I don't even call every realtor right away. When I find this potential listing that I like, I just find their cell phone number on the Zillow listing. And most likely not every, but most agents have their cell phone number on there. And if they're smart, they should, because that's how people get a hold of you when you're in sales. You want your cell phone number out there. But I just find their cell phone number. And if it's not on Zillow, I Google their name and number, and it shows me their office phone number. And most of the time on their office listing, it will show their cell phone number. But then when I find that, I just go into my cell phone and I text them. And you've always learned it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Well, yeah, I believe that. So the one message that I do every single time, it's really super simple, and you don't have to have a wife named Jen. If you don't, that's okay. I just say, hi, my name is, I say, hi, whatever their name is. So if it's Mark, I'm just throwing Mark out there. Hi, Mark. My name is Joe and my wife is Jen. We just came across one of your listings on Zillow. Is 125 Apple Street still available, or did you sell it already? So I'm letting them know that I'm not an agent, or I'm not coming in as an agent. I'm not coming in with a client looking to buy the house. I'm coming in as that I'm a normal person that just found this listing on Zillow, and I want to know if it's available. And I will tell you a trick, guys. If you're going to do this often, like I do, you want to text, make sure obviously you text them the address so they know what property you're talking about. So it was 125 Smith Street or whatever the address is, make sure you put that in there. But the other reason too is because when that realtor reaches back out to you, if they say yes or no, if you text it to 5 or 6 different realtors, you want to make sure you're able to look up that property and know what one they're talking about. So all simple things, right? But the situation where I found the last deal that we're buying right now, I reached out to the realtor and she said, yes, it's still available. I said, awesome. Can we hop on a phone call? Right. The house has been on the market for a while. They've had a price drop. There's really, I saw the one that we're buying. It's listed at 200,000. They bought it at 181. On PropStream, it shows that they owed like 171. I saw an interest rate of 2.8. So I was like, I love it. I saw the payment. It's 1350. I know it rents for 2,000. We have one already on that same street. So for me, I already knew that my rental spread was a good $600-700 walking into the deal. I know the area. It's a turnkey house. It doesn't need anything. And she just bought it a year and 4 months prior. But she met somebody, moved out, just like what happened to Jenn and myself, right? And house is already empty and she wants to sell it. It's been in the market for like 35 days. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Right. And it wasn't selling. They had an open house and they dropped it from 250 to 235 to 200,000. Right before they had it listed at 250, they had it for rent for about 2 weeks. So she had it for rent for 2 weeks. I'm sure she probably got a zillion phone calls. And then she probably says, no, I don't want to be a landlord. I'd rather just sell it. Let's list it for 250, see if she can make some money. Well, she didn't sell it. So when it's sitting there at 200,000, that's when I reached out to the realtor and I explained to her that I'd buy it. And how I would do this is I'd buy the property. I would take care of both sides of the closing costs. We would work out your commission, but the loan stays in the seller's name. So I could take advantage of the low interest rate and the low payment. And I don't come across saying, I know what the interest rate is, or I know what the payment is. How I tactfully do that, as I just say to the seller, or sorry, to the realtor, I see that they bought it about a year and 4 months ago. And I know if somebody bought a property back then, the interest rates were like 2 to 3%. And if I'm able to buy it and, have that same payment and that same interest rate, I get paid that price. But if I pay that price and I pay today's interest rates, it just doesn't make any sense. And I can't pencil out that deal. It won't work because that deal won't work at 7.5%. But at 2.8, that's a heck of a good deal. So that's why I want to do that. So how do I make that happen? I explained to the realtor that A, I'm a buyer. I'll pay the closing cost. We'll figure out your commission. And how we buy it is I'll buy it. I'll close on it with an attorney because New York is an attorney state. And the loan stays in the seller's name because I know when somebody bought a house a year and 4 months ago, the interest rates were like 2 to 3%. And I know the payment must have been a lot lower compared to if I were to buy it now, pay off that loan just to get a 7.5% rate. That doesn't make any sense. And when you can explain it that way, they understand 90% of the time. Okay. And that's good enough for me. There's some who will just still not understand the concept and say, absolutely not. See you later. Goodbye. That's fine. There's some agents who say, I understand and I will never let my seller do that. That's okay. Goodbye. And I'm nice. But I will watch the property and I will follow up and I'm going to talk about why. Okay. Sweet as apple pie, because I'm going to leave that door open because over time, everybody knows your circumstances and situations change. And, maybe no right now is not the answer, but maybe yes down the road is the one we're looking for. So that's why we always follow up. But then you'll have some realtors who say, hey, I think I could get this to work. I know the situation going with the seller. Let me find out. The other thing too, I'm going to give you a little bit of a strategy. And you probably already know this. A lot of you do. But when I'm asking the realtor and I want to find out what's up with this property, right? Like, how come they're just selling it so quickly? So for me, every time I say, hey, I noticed the seller just bought this property and now they're kind of selling it quickly. Is everything okay with the house? And that's when they're going to open up and tell you about the story or explain to you the situation. So for this one, I knew the house was empty. I knew that the young lady moved in with her new boyfriend. And they wanted to sell this one ASAP. So I found out they weren't just trying to sell it for the sake of selling it, but this is the situation. So did we sense pain? Sure. She has a vacant house and she doesn't want to make a payment. Did I sense motivation? She's already out of the place. So yes. Did I see a win for us too? 2.8, low interest rate, low payment. Yeah. So we figured out a way to make this a win for the seller, a win for the realtor, and a win for us too. So I know a lot of you thinking, how are you going to do this deal, Joe? Right? She owes 271. I'm sorry, 171. And you're buying it for 200,000. So that seller's got $29,000 of equity. 6% of that sale is going to go to a commission to the realtor. So the way we're going to break that deal down is that we're going to buy the house. The realtor is going to get her commission. And part of the reason why the realtor is obviously in love with this deal is because of the fact is I told her I will work out your commission and I'll cover all the closing costs. So she says, absolutely, that works for her. So all we're going to do is either borrow that money from ourselves or borrow that from somebody else for a very short time. And this is why our strategy, our favorite, is rent to own. Because when we put up, say, 30,000 to buy that deal, plus closing costs, $1,000 insurance policy, I might have 35,000 out of pocket. But on a turnkey house like that, especially the market's going on in Rochester, I'm going to get probably $20 to $30 to $40,000 of a non-refundable option deposit right off the bat from somebody to move in. And then they're going to rent it for $2,000 a month. My payment is $1,350. And with rent to own, that spread is ours because we aren't responsible for the maintenance, the repairs, or utilities. So that's true income. So if we had to come up with, say, 35,000 to buy the deal, and somebody gives us 25,000 to move in, well, geez, we still have $10,000 out. But if I'm making $650 a month, I'll get that back pretty quick.
So it beats going to the bank.
It beats going to the bank, and we're paying down our principal quickly, guys.
Yeah.
We have a 28-year term on this house because she just bought it.
At what percent?
2.8.
Ooh.
So here's why we love rent to own, is because if I had to put up 30,000, 35,000 to buy a deal to make $600 a month, it's still not a bad cash on cash return when you look at the numbers. And you have a cash flowing asset, ultra low interest rate. You get to write off depreciation. Life is pretty good, right? But the key to it is now with our strategy, we're going to get almost all of that money back. And there's many times where we get all of that back. So the entry fee on this one is a little bit higher than we typically like, but it's on the same street. We already own a property. We know the area very well. We know we're going to find a rent to own person that's going to move in there pretty quickly. And I know 25 grand is probably going to be the minimum of what we would take for that deal.
Well, and we're not having to fix anything up, renovate it. You know, there's literally nothing, right? It's turnkey, ready to go.
They're even doing a deep clean when they move out.
Yeah. So I think that's the big difference too, is like when we stopped buying the fixer uppers and having to rehab them and really, you know, honing into this aspect of really being able to buy these turnkey properties that maybe they need some fresh paint, but the tenant buyers, they want to change the paint color anyway, or they might want to switch out the flooring or update the kitchen. So really it's the best, you know, win-win scenario, win-win-win really.
And that's why the turnkey, no more junkers, because that's what we first got started doing, everybody. We'd buy a nice area, we'd find a junk house and we'd renovate the whole thing. This is back in 2008 when, you know, we were just dating, and she's over there, we're on our weekends doing stuff to this house, hiring contractors, do a lot of it. And then we'd refinance it after renting it. And then we just did that process, one house a year. But the change was when we learned how to do creative finance, you could do a few houses a month. With the right systems in place and generating leads.
I would say too, like the biggest factor, like you already touched on, is the cost of entry. And so when there are realtors, you just have to make sure that you're working those numbers in to your cost of entry on this deal.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll give you another example, guys. So that's the one we're doing in New York right now. I love the rate. I love the whole thing, but we had one recently, we just closed in Tampa. Now this was a different situation. This was listed with a realtor, wasn't selling. The seller was very, very behind on their payments, and they're about to lose it to a foreclosure. They're at zero right now. They can't lower the price any lower, and it's just sitting there. So the realtor reaches out to one of my investor friends locally who's a cash buyer and says, hey, would you be a cash buyer at this house? Seller's in a situation they really need to sell. But cash buyers, if they can't get a house for, 50 cents on the dollar on one of them, then we can't do anything with that. But this was a turnkey house right in Tampa. So that wasn't the case there. So on that situation, when we looked at the back payments that we had to get caught up, the seller took $4,000 at closing rather than losing their house. The realtor said she would take a $2,000 commission rather than trying to get 6% on a $400,000 property, because this was on the market for a while and it wasn't selling.
Mm-hmm.
So after penciling all the numbers, that deal sort of makes sense. And what we did is we actually knew somebody who was wanting a property there, and we assigned it to them, and they gave us a $10,000 finder's fee for the deal.
I don't even know what deal you're talking about.
The one Nick's.
Oh.
Don't be all like,
No,
I got
really,
so many deals coming in, I can't keep
that's not
track.
what I said. I was just my brain was going a little here.
But that was the situation there, guys. So on that deal right there, the realtor was super cooperative, willing to drop their commission because they came to us looking for help because they knew that we could help them and their seller. And they weren't selling this house. It was about to go back to the bank.
Yeah.
So did we help the realtor? Yes. Did we help the seller? Sure did. Why? Put money in their pocket, got their old loan current. Now making those payments on time is going to make their credit continue to get better, because at one point it must have been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They got a house, but just because of some bad luck is why they got behind. So the fact that we could save their credit, put some cash in their pocket besides, repair their credit, our buyer got, that rate was like 3.2.
Yeah,
it was super low.
Nice.
So with that being the case, everybody, once again, high fives, we all make out with each other. So it's a great deal. And these are why we love finding agents. So here's some things you should do. I'm a big fan of friends requesting all the agents. If I buy in Tampa, I'm friends requesting agents. I'm in real estate groups in the Tampa area.
And this is all on Facebook. If you don't know already, Joe and I are
Yes.
Facebook fans for business.
So if I'm in my old city or whatever city I want to start doing business in, I go onto Facebook, I look into groups, and I see if there's any real estate groups. It could be real estate investors, it could be realtor groups, it could be for sale groups, whatever that is. And you'll start finding some of the movers and shakers in the area. And I will always want to connect with them. I send them a friends request, because when I send you a friends request, you'll see on my own social media, I talk about how I could help them with some of the properties, right? I don't always send them a DM immediately. I just let them see what we could do. And we definitely make sure we connect with them at one point to say, hey, if you're working with any sellers and they're in a jam, sometimes I could buy those properties and make it work out for everybody. So if you see these, please, let's connect. I would love to make some magic happen, right? And just like anything else, some of the realtors you'll never hear from, but there's a bunch where I get leads. We're looking at deals. We're meeting some great people and making some great connections. And just consistently doing that, because 3 years ago, I had like 400 people on my friends list on Facebook, and now it's like 5,000. Okay. All of those 5,000 people, well, the 4,500 new people are all you guys, right? It's all my investor friends. It's all my realtor friends. I still have a lot of my old friends from my everyday day-to-day life, but these connections is why I love Facebook, because of these connections, guys. Facebook, I keep saying this, and I'm not a social media guy at all, but there are tens of millions of dollars to be made just off Facebook. We talked about it on Bigger Pockets during our podcast. If you want to get free leads, we joined Facebook groups. Our clients joined Facebook groups. And inside of that Facebook group, we put our blue ad that says, is anybody looking to sell a house that's not market ready? We're looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And we put that out there, guys. And I'll put that as in test markets. And there's not one spot in the country where you will not get free leads. It just happens everywhere. And I hear a lot of people say, I put it into 2 Facebook groups. It didn't work. Yeah, well, you got to keep trying it, right? If you think of McDonald's, their message is pretty consistent. And it's the same thing with marketing anything. Yeah. But if you're able to do that 5-10 times a day, you will have incoming leads for sure, especially if those groups have like 10, 20, 30, 50,000 people or more.
So yeah, when you're posting that in there, the ad he just mentioned, you're going to get realtors responding to you. and our clients do. And so that's a great thing. Start networking, connect, ask the questions and really figure out, is there a win-win scenario with some of their clients for the houses that are sitting?
And that's how I got one of the leads I'm working on today, guys, is literally right here. I didn't even tell you about this one yet. Um,
Breaking news.
in we live in Bradenton, Florida, and I found one in Bradenton. The lady's like, "Yeah, my house has been listed. It's on the market, and it's not selling." And then she sends me the address. I look it up, and sure as can be, it's not. So it's through a realtor. So once again, hey, listen, if this one works out, great. If not, maybe we could do business on some others. But if I were to buy this house, do you think that seller might be open to seller financing if I could pay, close to that price and cover the closing costs? And I let them know right off the bat, hey, if it's not this one, fine, maybe we could find another one. But if I were to do this, would your seller be open to that? Really, I'm not doing anything earth shattering here, guys. I'm really not. The one thing though is just taking that consistent action of branding yourself. So this is why in social media, we're really, really big on just telling the world who you are and how you can help people. And the more you do that and that consistent message, that's key. So I love networking. I am a friends request like machine. So if we're not friends on Facebook already, guys, send me a friends request, please. Because I like to get to know you guys all better too, right? And this is how we find a lot of our deals. We have incoming leads. We have a team. You've heard about Lexi on Bigger Pockets, our babysitter that we found on care.com Christmas time now is a machine.
And her interview we had her on last week was phenomenal. So that's up on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. She really breaks things down. And, she's so honest about her journey here with us for the last, handful of months and how awesome she's doing now. I don't think she sees how amazing it is. I think she is recognizing it, but she's really come so far. And so if you're brand new, listen to that episode because she really does break it down super simple of just the action steps that she's taking.
And next week we have Luca, who works for us. He's 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay. And once again, no real estate experience because he just graduated high school not long ago. But it's the same thing, guys. It's just really just keeping that easy process. So with talking with realtors and finding these situations, it's simple stuff. It's about making these connections with real people. If somebody's rude to you, that does not give you the ticket to be rude back to them. That gives you the ticket to just end the conversation quickly and kindly and maybe pick it up later on. If every time I talk to you, you're kind of a schmuck, well, I might not follow up with that much, but knowing me, I still might because nobody else might want to deal with your schmuck behind anyways. So I still might follow back up with you because I'll be honest with you, some of the trickiest sellers were some of our best deals.
Yep.
The one that never answers the phone, the one that does answer the phone and says, "Oh, I'll call you back," and then never calls you back.
Or
and then you have to
extra grumpy because they have tenants who aren't paying or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. So I will definitely say follow up is key. Now I'm going to go over the one we're working on in Florida. And I'm going to go over difficulties dealing with realtors because I love them. I'm always going to say good things, but I'm going to talk about some crap. Okay. We got one down
I'm going to
here.
spill the tea here.
Yeah. I will, guys, you get the truth out of us. I don't sugarcoat.
You don't sugarcoat.
So I've got a property down here where it is an ideal seller finance, sub 2, creative finance, whatever you want to call it, deal. It's got it written all over it, guys. Beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood. Built in 2017 or 18.
So. Yeah.
It's 4 or 5, 6 years old. Nice house. Gated community. The seller bought it for $650 just like a year and a half ago. And their payment with taxes and insurance is like $3,000. Now, in Florida, for that kind of house, that's a steal because that thing will rent for $4,000 all day long. It's $1,000 a month cash flow. Their interest rate, super, super low. It's in an area where you could rent it. So with that,
really great.
Yeah, because a lot of HOAs do not let you rent. So I know for sure if we have this opportunity to get this house, and we put it up for rent to own, our phone would literally catch on fire with as many in many calls that we'd get.
And we were so interested in this property. We actually went there. We took the kids, walked around it. It was a really nice house.
And we even considered maybe even moving into it.
Possibly moving into it,
No way. It's just an hour from the beach.
Didn't have a pool though, but either way. So we went around, walked around it. And what was the original listing price?
So they bought it for $620. They lived in there for a year and a half. The realtor says, "Oh no, it's time to sell. We're going to list it for $850.
No pool.
So they did a $230,000 price increase after owning it for a year and did nothing to the house.
Which might have worked a year ago in the market.
Could have,
Maybe.
maybe. That's a big swing in 1 year.
Florida's wild.
So Florida's wild. So either way, I talked to the realtor. I reached out. I hit her with, "Hey, my name is Joe. My wife is Jenn. We saw your house on whatever. Is it still available?" And she's like, "Yes, it is." This was in March, March 1st, guys. At this point, it's already been on the market for like, I forgot, like a month or so.
Yeah, like over 30 days.
So anyways, I reach out, we start talking about the property. And I said, would the seller be open to terms? And at first she says, "Wait, you're going to buy it, but the loan stays in the seller's name." No, they're not going to go for that. I said, "Well, is this something you want to present to them?" She's like, "No, because I just know they won't go for this."
She just knew.
I said, "Well, why would they just want to sell this beautiful house? Why don't they just keep it? I mean, why would they just buy it to sell it?" And she says, "Well, they moved 2 hours away to be closer to their job and they're expecting a new baby. So they want to be a little bit closer to family." I said, "Oh boy." I was like, "Are they making 2 mortgage payments already? Because you mentioned they already bought their new house." She's like, "Yeah, they are." I'm like, "Well, I know if I were making 2 mortgage payments, my wife would kill me because I know that what that would do to our financing. Are they okay with doing that?" She says, "No, they're coming into some financial troubles. So we're just going to want to sell the house conventionally." I said, "Are you sure you don't want to talk to them about terms? Because I think your price is even a little on the high side, but maybe I could stretch that price if we could agree on the terms." Nope, that's not what they want to do. Well, that was in March 1st because I save all my messages every time. I don't ever delete a message. Well, June, I reached back out to this realtor. I'm like, "Hey, Pat, it's me again. What's up? Let's see if we could talk about the property." She says, "Who is this?" I said, "Well, we chatted about this house months ago. I was even texting you about it." She's like, I erase all my text messages." I'm like, man, if that was my realtor and she's erasing everybody's messages, boy, right? So here's the thing, guys. There's some realtors who are like spot on. This is what they do for a living. And there's some who are like the weekend warriors who have lives, but they just list a couple houses a year. I'm not saying she's one or the other, but if I had to guess, somebody who deletes incoming leads because she doesn't like having a lot of message on their phone, I do not take that as a super professional. Take it for what it's worth. I've been in sales my whole life, so I don't ever give up on a lead.
Maybe she has a CRM.
So anyways, Pat, I'm like, "Hey, it's me again. We talked about this house. I would be interested in buying seller financing. We chatted about this just 3 months prior, and I see it still hasn't sold yet. Now it's been on the market for over 100 and something days."
Yeah.
She was just downright nasty.
She was rude.
I had her on a speakerphone. I was here at the house, and Jen's like, "I can't believe you just sit on that phone call and listen to this lady." So in Florida, I'm not going to pick on any realtors down here, but there are some what I call those hostile granny realtors. Boy, they are tough as nails. I don't know if there's like a schooling where these grandmas, they come hit you with that wooden spoon over the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So
she was definitely giving you a lashing.
So Pat's like, "I told you they don't want to do this." But so on her call, Pat's call, she tells me that literally having 2 payments is bankrupting the family because now they had the baby. So this family has a newborn. Obviously, wife's missing a little work because they just had the baby. They've got 2 mortgage payments and it's literally bankrupting the family. I said, "Well, Pat, if it's bankrupting the family, do you think maybe you want to talk to them about doing this?" And she says, "Beat it, sucker." I'm like, interesting. Okay. So I ignore Pat, but I'm watching it. I heard it, the property on Zillow. So every time she has a price drop, like she just did another $40,000 price drop, still not selling.
Open houses like every weekend.
This poor lady must not have anything going on the weekends because every weekend she's at this house at an open
And
house.
I think we should go to one just for fun.
Just to meet her.
We'll live stream it.
Yeah, here we are, guys. Pat, remember I told you about Pat? Here she is, right? So anyways, I feel terrible for this family. So here's another next part of it. I have a good friend of mine who says that their sister-in-law is looking for a property in this area. And if we could find a deal where they could buy it with seller finance and have a 3% interest rate and an ultra low payment, he's like, I could put $50,000 up to $100,000 down on a property. I said, cheapers creepers. Well, let me call Pat because I know of this deal. I call Pat again. This is like end of July. And I say, "Hey, Pat, This is me again. Who is this? Of course, the typical, doesn't save any text messages. So I explained to her once again who I am. And I say, hey, Pat, I don't want to buy this house, but I have somebody who's looking to move in this area. And they would buy this because they could take over that 3% rate and have a much lower payment. And they're even willing to put some cash down up to $100,000. She says, I already told you my buyers would not be interested. I said, have you ever even talked to them about this? And she's like, no, and I'm not going to. This is not what they want to do. So guys, do you want to talk about super frustration? I know these people have a baby that's a newborn. I know it's literally bankrupting them, making their new mortgage payment plus $3,000 a month on this property, plus utilities and all the other stuff, right? Upkeep, it still has to mow the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
But you're dealing with somebody who's just so darn stubborn.
Ooh, and I just realized hurricane season's like here. So,
oh yeah,
oh man,
it just takes one good poof to come through here, and it's all types of stuff going on. So here's what I say, guys: follow up,
mm-hmm.
follow up, follow up, no matter what, because now that property's been on the market for 201 days. I keep watching.
I was gonna say,
It's
that's
201. They just did another $40,000 price drop. So when they started at 850, they're down to 740 now. And I know it's still priced too high.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's still probably another $100,000 priced too high. What do you guys do, right? So is it frustrating? Yes. How do you deal with realtors? I'm still nice to Pat. Pat's still going to hear from Joe. And I'm still going to call her because once again, over time and circumstances, if these people are really in a situation where we could help them and it could help us too, and it's a beautiful house, I'm going to keep trying.
But you won't ever go direct to seller if it's listed.
I mean, you could, obviously if you did, you still have to close it with the realtor.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, I probably should. And just be like, hey, I've been trying to talk to your realtor since March 1st. Cause I save my text messages with Pat, but I've been trying to talk to you about me buying your house since March 1st. And Pat won't even tell you my name or what I'm trying to do. And I probably should. Right. And when I told Pat, it's like, hey, Pat, what are you going to do when your listing expires in 6 months? Cause that was original. I thought it was a 6-month listing. She's like, oh no, I had them sign up for a year. So she had them sign a listing agreement for 12 months, y'all. So when a realtor mostly cares about their commission versus actually helping a person, why this is why they're here, this is why we're here. Yes, we all want to make money. I get it. But if you could help somebody who's really in a jam, and there's nobody really almost that deserves it than a new family with a newborn who's literally you're bankrupting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think too, it goes back to like we say that phrase, grateful over greedy. And I mean, my goodness.
yeah, and also time and circumstances. If it's 11 months and like 28 days and Pat's about to lose that listing, oh yeah, Big Daddy about to call.
Oh my God.
So just have fun with it, guys, and that's all you could do.
So yeah, stay tuned because we definitely checked that one and we'll keep you guys updated.
Oh yeah, I've been talking about this one literally legitly since March too. So if you've been following us, you've heard of this before.
Mm-hmm.
So kill them with kindness, be ultra polite, even if they're being kind of rude. That's the key. Follow up, follow up, follow up. So how do you follow up? Especially with these ones listed on the market, guys, I'm going to tell you the easiest way to do it. I create an account on Zillow. They're free. You just got to put in your name and screen name and email address. And then any one of these properties I come across that fit this category, there's this little button on the box. It's a heart, and you can just heart it. And then that tracks that property for you. So all I do is I heart it. And every time there's an open house, when a Pat's open house, we get an email. Every time there's another price drop, we get an email.
Yeah,
If
an email today. There's open house this weekend.
Yeah. So this is the whole point of how do I keep track of these? Well, geez, she told me no. And I'm looking on here and I see they just did another price drop today. I'm going to message her and then I'm going to put that phone number in my text message. And then guess what? Here's the old conversation that popped up of when I talked to them last and the whole thing. So I don't ever delete it. I've got tons of realtors' contact information here. And you know, I could tell you with working with realtors, they're probably all really nice people for the majority of them. Some get back to you pretty quick. I love them. Some get back to you usually when they can pretty soon though. Some will just never get back to you. And I wonder why they're doing this business. Don't give up. And that's my best case scenario to help you guys. I will say for sure, consistency is key. Keep looking because as the market is starting to shift, having these connections, you're going to be able to work with them more and more. And I think part of the reason why is if we're a realtor, and we're going to get some Q&A next, but if you've been a realtor in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, you are making really good money. Selling a house, I've got all my realtor friends, because I told you about how my friends requested them all. Every one of them were saying over the last few years, how many of you probably seen this? I got my seller 50,000 over asking. Look at the line of all the cars coming to today's open house. I got my seller 75,000 over asking. I'm seeing the closings nonstop. All these realtors made a ton of money in the last few years. And as the market shifts now, I've also seen a mass exodus of a lot of realtors getting out of the business. Right? It's not like it was, and it's going to continue to be that way. As rates go up and there's less people who want to sell their house, that's going to cause a really funky time in the market. So having somebody like you all who could understand how creative finance could work could put some of these deals together for everybody where a cash offer is too low and it's not selling on the market because sometimes these sellers owe too much. And by the time they take out commissions and closing costs, so many times people have to write a check to say goodbye to a property they no longer want. So Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, if you ever come across a deal like that, where maybe somebody comes to you and they want to sell their house after they just bought it recently, and by the time you take out commission and closing costs, they might be in the red, they might be negative, upside down, underwater, and they're going to have to write you a check at closing, let me know, because a lot of times I could buy those houses and really help them out, not have to have them write a check.
Yeah, and you can submit those deals right on our website, Create a Finance Playbook. There's a little click the box and you can submit your information there. So if you're still new, but you are starting to poke around and kind of see that, and you're catching some of these, buzzwords like Joe's saying, like they recently bought the house, if they're going to have to sell it, they're going to lose money. You could gather as much information. I'm going to make sure you all have our script. I'll post that, make sure it's on our group for you all, but those are just basic questions. There are 10 questions that if we have those answers, then we'll be able to say like, this could be a deal. And then you just submit that information and our team or I take a look and we'll be able to, possibly partner on that deal, help everybody out. And, you're learning too, which is,
and that's how we get a lot of our deals. We get
Yeah.
them from our own leads, but we also get a lot from just this right here. This is why we do this, guys.
I had one earlier today. A lady is trying to help someone, but they're $100,000 behind a mortgage payment. So that one's kind of tricky.
100,000. They bought the house 3 years ago and then
3 years.
3 years ago and never made one payment.
Not one payment since 2020. So that's
Those are challenging.
Yeah.
However, we try to see if there's a way we could help. Some we can, some we can't.
3 months. Now we're talking. That one's that I
6
could
months even.
Yeah.
3 years with the back payments. We got to look at something different there.
Yeah.
So, but guys, these are some of the tips. We're going to get to some Q&A. I know we got some good ones I saw coming across.
Yeah, I know. Here, I just want to read. Cisco said, I have come across a realtor that owns multiple properties that would be perfect for seller finance. However, he won't answer calls, text, or email. Each house has a different method of reaching him. One of the sellers can't be skip trace. All realtors I've talked to reach out to me on their own Facebook. So I know that can be like super discouraging. So right there, I would say like, I'll try to be like FaceTiming these people through Facebook, blowing up their messages, like just trying my very best, like even like commenting on a photo, like, hey, just sent you a DM. That's my first go-to.
Yeah, because what happens is if you're not friends with somebody on Facebook and you send them a message, it goes into like this special folder where I didn't know this. And at one point I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh,
Crazy.
I had like tons of message. I didn't know this box even
your
existed.
Other folder, not just your message request.
Yeah, there's like an other folder. And then inside the other folder, there's like an other folder too. And I was like, gosh, I had like years worth of missed messages. I didn't know these things even existed. And many times they don't either. So that's why if I'm really trying to get a hold of you, I will comment, I will like one of your things, I'll send you a friends request.
You can always unfriend them later, but it just pops up on their notifications because sometimes I think a lot is happening and we do miss notifications on accident. So just keep that in mind. Do we pay realtor for both sides of the deal?
So that's a good question. Do we pay the realtor both sides of the deal? It depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. On the certain situations where I know there's so much equity and that realtor is going to get some anyways, I kind of offered like, hey, listen, I'm not represented. You could do it. Like in our deal, there's $28,000 of spread. So the realtor is going to get some commission. The seller is going to get some too. And if I just pay the realtor their normal commission, she's still going to get paid full. So I had her on my side, by telling her, yes, I'll pay both sides a commission.
Is that double agency?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yeah, talked about our scripts. I'll make sure you guys get those. The script.
Yeah, it's right on our website, creativefinanceplaybook.com. There's a button to if you want to get our
It
script.
should be up there.
It's up there. I checked.
Oh, great. I didn't see
Oh
that yet.
yeah, Abby on it. Thank you,
Love
Abby.
to hear Facebook groups are working. Consistency is key. Absolutely. Make sure you are following up with those people.
Yeah, guys, there's more of these leads on Facebook groups than you could ever keep up with without having to spend any money on marketing. They're in these groups for free. You don't need to spend money on marketing.
All right, we have a little roadblock someone's mentioning. So how do you come up with the closing costs, realtor fees? I don't have a private money lender yet. I'm afraid to pursue deals until I know how to get that upfront money.
So great question, iPhone user. If you want to drop your name next time, you can. Either way, no big deal. What I would recommend is finding somebody like us who would want that deal, and you could sell it to Joe and Jen, or somebody like Joe and
You would
Jen.
collect an assignment fee or a finder's fee.
And we'll pay y'all some money for the deal.
Mhm.
So here's what happens if you talk to a realtor, or if you're just talking to a seller and you realize you might need $20,000 to go buy this deal. There's a lot of these out there, people like us who would love to have a great deal, especially in a great neighborhood on a turnkey property. And with our rent to own, that's usually not an issue for us. So with that being the case, find somebody who wants those deals and bring them some value, and then let them buy those deals from you or partner with them. And that's how you're going to make it. And how I recommend partnering is just getting your money and go. Right. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship with somebody you don't know, that could be tricky. You might both have different times of wanting to sell or things like
And
that.
if you don't actually know, and I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but if you don't know your private money lender or somebody that's offering you money, just be super careful. Please do all your due diligence. That's definitely something you want to be very, very careful.
Yes. Other people's money could be very helpful, but you want to make sure that you're able to fulfill your end of the bargain. You don't want to borrow grandma's money and then owe grandma a whole lot of money.
Or a
she's like,
stranger.
or strangers,
Yeah.
just as
Or
bad.
someone saying they have money and then they really don't.
Yes.
Crazy town out there. So they're talking about, is it illegal to not basically have your offer be put into this couple? And
Technically, yes.
so we should report this realtor evidencing.
You know what? You're probably right. I just don't.
Mhm. Criminal.
But you're probably right.
All right. Can you discuss how you finance the entry phase? Kind of just talked about that a little bit.
So real quick too, how you can finance it. If you've
Right.
got no money, now we use our own capital, but if I don't, and on some projects we probably will, because we're starting to find a lot more of these leads. This is why I love creative finance so much, is because if I'm finding a deal and I need $20,000 for my total entry fee, but this is why I love rent to own, is because I know I could find somebody who will give me a large non-refundable option deposit. Most of the time, guys, I'm able to take a little bit of chunk of money, buy a deal, and then I get that right back pretty quickly. But I will tell you, this is why we typically buy with no money down. Your entry fee, if it's too high into a deal, will crush any deal, period. So I love it when I see advertising on some other Facebook groups that I have a seller finance deal, house is 400,000, but they want $390,000 down and they'll finance the $10,000 balance. Like, that's not a creative finance deal, y'all. Like, you might as well want half down or more. You get cash, right? So when we buy creative finance deals, this is the same thing for you. We could all look in the mirror and say this really easy, but you're going to want to practice this. Okay. I'm going to give you some earth-shattering stuff here. When you're talking to a realtor or you're talking to a seller, I say, I typically buy with no money down. Okay. Write that down, guys. Don't forget it. Look at yourself in the mirror, dead in the eye, and say it like 10 times. Like, I typically buy with no money down. Okay. And it's not how you say it, but it is how you say it, right? Okay. I'm not asking, I'm making kind of a statement there. So you'd be shocked how many times people say, okay. So your low entry fees, those are the deals you're going to want to keep always.
Yeah. Okay. Jordan said you don't have to be sorry you came. Thanks for coming in. What we'll do is we'll post this live on podcast platforms and YouTube. So we definitely chatted a little bit about what to look on Zillow, but just do a quick recap. How do you know it's a creative deal? A couple things you look
So
at.
I always call or text the realtor at first, but some key indicators, if I saw somebody just recently bought a property and now they're trying to sell it, or even more importantly, where somebody saw, or they just bought it and then they try to rent it and then they're trying to sell it, and maybe they try to rent it again and they're trying to sell it. You see that waffling back and forth a few times. that's always a huge indicator of these people need debt relief. There's probably some type of motivation and pain in their life in a situation they want to just get this payment off their back, whether they sell the property or whether they rent it. So, and many times they don't want to really be a landlord. They just need to get rid of that payment. So they're just trying to go that route just because maybe it's not selling.
Mhm. Henry's question: when is the mortgage due if you buy with seller finance?
It's due with
Guess
seller finance because if it's a free and clear property with seller finance, Henry, you can make the payment due whenever you want. So if you tell the seller, I don't have any payments due till 90 days from now, from closing, you can do that because we do. And then if you want, you could also say, and my payment is not due to you until the 15th of every month.
I wasn't sure if you meant to like the balance. So again, I guess that comes down to terms, and terms are what you're negotiating with your seller and trying to find that balance. Now, if it's a mortgage due to a bank, then you're kind of locked in whenever that mortgage payment's due every month. And then again, it comes down to the terms. Most sellers like this one Joe just talked about, she's got what, 28 years left on her loan, and she's just like, take it over, so we have the length of the loan on that one, which is ideal.
Mhm.
Good job, Jake, taking action. Super proud of you. It's just takes one. So you got to just keep talking to as many people as possible. Congratulations on closing on market deal 2 weeks ago. Bravo. Super pumped.
Awesome. Great job.
CRM recommendations. I believe we always post it, but we are huge fans of REI software. It's through Go High Level, but huge disclaimer, you do not need a CRM if you do not have an overflow of leads. That is a shiny object, money taking, non-action bringing thing that I would strongly encourage you not to invest in until you actually need one. How do you know you need one? Because now you've lost track of your leads and you can't keep yourself together. And I say that because we didn't have a CRM once upon a time. We just had pens and paper,
And we had a
sticky
Google
notes.
sheet.
We were printing paper. What do we have?
We had a Google spreadsheet.
Google
It would
sheet,
drop it all
yeah.
in there for us, but that's
And
what we
then,
used for the
yeah,
longest time.
when the time came and we started growing our team, definitely. But don't go out and spending all the money, because that's what everyone likes to
So
do.
our CRM was what, about $100 a month?
Roughly. I think it's a little more than that.
Is it $110 a month? It's something like that. We
It was
use
like
REI
300.
software, which is awesome. The reason why we love it is through Go High Level, which is the platform, and you can customize it to whatever you want to do. So we actually have a tech team who we've customized ours. So we actually have a link because a lot of people want to copy ours. So it's out there. If you use our link, you get to copy our exact CRM. And the reason for that is we made cool sequences, like a psycho sequence, we call it. So if Kevin is supposed to get on a call with me today at 3:00 and Kevin ghosts me, I'm not going to sit there and try to keep on tracking down Kevin, wondering where, what happened on the phone call. I just put Kevin in the psycho sequence. And that's like that psycho X getting a hold of you. Like, Kevin, are you still there? Kevin, is everything okay? And they just keep messaging and told Kevin's like, yes, I'm here. What up? And then we just get back on that call, right? Because I don't want to leave follow up to humans. Because if I left it up to me, I'd be not consistent enough for it. So I let the CRM do that for us.
But if you're just starting, I love that Evan threw out there, use Google Calendar, guys. It's
Yeah.
that simple. I know it's crazy, right? Like just put in the seller's name, their phone number, follow up every 30 days. There you go. Put the address of the house, but don't get caught up in all the bells and whistles at first. Ray is asking, can you discuss how your assignment program works? What states can you pick up properties?
So, Ray, we've assigned deals in, I can't say all 50 states, but we've done a lot of them.
Yeah, I can say like our favorite right now. We have properties in New York, Pennsylvania,
Connecticut,
Florida,
Massachusetts. So those are some of the deals like we're working on currently right now, but we assign them all over the country.
Yeah, so we're
From
pretty
North Pole, Alaska down to Florida.
and we have a great network too. So if you send us something and we're not quite sure, like we tap into our resources too, which is really helpful. I think people forget that part. We're part of a lot of masterminds and a lot of coaching. So we have boots on the ground and people all over.
Mhm.
So no state left behind.
That's right. I'll tell you, to be honest with you though, we got the first lead that really ripped the door right off of it was when we had our team bring us a deal, and they said, well, the seller wants to sell their house. She's open to seller financing, no money down. It's in North Pole, Alaska. And I remember looking at her, we're giggling because I'm like, what, Santa want to sell his house? And then there's actually like a military base. It's like a real place, y'all, for you if you don't really know. It's a happening town, North Pole, Alaska.
That deal really woke us up. I feel like we were like, wow, like we can do this anywhere.
Yeah,
people.
we found a buyer in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Sold. And then the buyer says, hey, I appreciate the seller financing, but I'm just going to write a check for the whole deal and just refinish it and then sell it. And
That's
that's
that
what
good
he
of a
ended up
deal.
doing. So that seller was thrilled. We were too, because these poor people
Yeah.
were
They were in a
making a
jam.
$1,200 payment every month for 2 years while this house was sitting up there vacant in North Pole.
You
So
couldn't get back up to it, and COVID, the whole thing. So.
yes. So
John, thank you for sharing. I just read yours. I would have loved to have creative financing as an option in 2010, but no one approached me other than selling with a loss and eating the difference. Don't give up. Someone needs that. And I try to share that, you never know who is on the other side of your screen. If you're, sharing on social, or you're, putting yourself out there, is like the right person at the right time is going to see your message. And I believe that. So for all of you who are nervous to put yourself out there, like, just do it, because someone like John could use your help.
mhm. I
Nate,
know John too. He's a good dude.
yeah, he's a good dude. In a lease option, you mentioned you don't lock in a purchase price when dispoing, but when working with a seller who doesn't want to go sub 2 route and they will rent it out, I heard you ask the seller, why don't you lease option to me? In that case, do you try to lock in the purchase price?
Hey, Nate in Tampa, you're right in our old backyard. So yes, we do. When we buy or sell, we do have the price negotiated. If I'm selling a property, rent to own, which is our favorite way, we do have the price picked out, what they could buy it for. We have a term length of how long they have to buy it, up until usually about 2 years. And if they don't buy it in that 2 years, we don't ever throw them out. We just let them know we'll continue and we'll just renew it at new figures. If the price goes up somewhat, we'll still make sure you get a good deal, but we will just adjust it, but we won't throw you guys out. So no big rush. If I am buying a property, if that's what you're saying with a lease purchase, because we've done that too, where I've talked to the seller and the seller says, I don't want to do it with seller financing. I always say, well, then if you're not going to sell it, or if you don't sell it, what are you going to do with it? And many times they say, well, I'm just going to rent it. That's where I say, well, why don't you rent it to me with the option to buy? It's the next step going towards what you're going to want to do, which is selling it anyways. But now I'll be the one renting it. I'll have the purchase price locked into what I could buy it for. And the same thing with the term length. And then I'll work with one of my renters who was going to rent it from me. And then when they buy it, we all get paid. And you'd be surprised how many times, yeah, ring that bell, girl. You'd be surprised how many times where they say, I don't want the loan in my name and the house sold to you, or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I just make that offer. And then many times they say, oh, I would do that. Yeah, I could do that. So then the next step, I said, well, then would you rather just sell it right away then? Or would you rather do that rent to own? Well, what do you mean? Well, if I were to buy it from you with seller financing, that means it's already one step beyond that. The deed's already transferred over. I'm the owner, and I'm just still going to continue making those same payments anyways. And then many times they talk themselves back into doing seller financing. But if they're just cautious about it because of the deed or something like that, that's fine. Sell it to me with a lease purchase. Now, guys, I'll tell you the reason why ours is so awesome. Our lease agreement says that we are responsible for all of the maintenance, all of the repairs, all utilities, so they're free to walk away. A leaky faucet, they don't take care of that. That's when we're buying. But when we're selling on rent to own, our tenant buyer is responsible for all of those things. The maintenance, the repairs, the utilities, that leaky faucet. So once again, you won't get the phone calls by doing it this way. It's called a sandwich lease purchase. Thank you, Ron LeGrand, because he's the one that taught us that stuff.
Yes. And if you haven't watched his interview, make sure you go check that one out. Ron LeGrand, he is the man.
Godfather real estate.
Yes, absolutely. And definitely, I'm going to give our website one more plug, creativefinanceplaybook.com. Scroll down, you'll see an opportunity to submit a deal, JV or partner with us. You'll be dropped into our CRM and you'll get a message back from a phone number. That is us, probably a virtual assistant, myself or Lexi or Luke or Joe. We'll definitely start the chat and make sure that we're chatting about that with you. And then also on there, there's the button for the script. So if you don't know what to say to sellers, guys, just borrow that script. They're just questions. Ask them in that order. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. You're just collecting some information and you won't know if you can help them unless you have those answers. And last but not least, we do have a local meetup coming up the last Tuesday, August 29th, I want to say it is.
29th.
6 p.m. Eastern, right here in Bradenton, a cute little coffee shop / bar. Definitely can lots of space to network in. And we had a nice
We have the
turnout.
whole place to ourselves, guys.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool. We got a great networking spot. Had a great turnout the last time. So it's going to be August
Totally
29th.
free. Come on, bring a friend.
Yes. So if you are in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, if you're in Florida, okay, because we had people coming from the
and stay.
for like a few hour drive and they got an Airbnb to spend the night. So if you're anywhere in like the southeast and you want to come Thursday the 29th, we'd love to have you guys there.
Tuesday.
Trace, come on down. It's just a quick flight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could pop right
I
in.
love palm trees.
I will
right?
tell you what, bring your shorts and flip flops. It is hot out.
Hot.
Let me
Yes.
tell you.
Yep. And if you are interested in our coaching and mentoring, I appreciate your patience. We are hopping on calls with folks. So get on our wait list right now. It is on our website. Just make sure you drop your information. And, you know, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, we come out with really great little tidbits that you can try throughout the week. So make sure you're subscribed there too.
So if they want to learn how to get to this meetup that we're having, where's the link for that?
Oh, goodness. I should probably put that on the website too. But otherwise, I keep dropping the event all over Facebook.
We'll have Abby put it in.
It's in our group, Facebook group. It's in the group.
Yes.
There's an event for it. I'll drop it again. But yeah, it's just Creative Finance Playbook Meetup, Bradenton. Oscura is the name of the coffee shop bar. But yeah, we'll make sure that gets blasted all over too.
Awesome place, guys. So super exciting. So next week, we're bringing on Luca. Luca came to us at an 18-year-old, just moved from Kansas City, doesn't know anybody down here, stalked me on Instagram because he found me on some group or whatever it was, reached out to
Not
me.
on Instagram,
Facebook, I'm sorry. He was one of those guys that was in the hidden box that I didn't notice. But what happens, I'm smart and I know this happens. So I give Jen my phone and she's like, did you know this guy wants to work for us? We hired him. Great guy at the beginning of this year.
And we're going to go into detail about that next week.
Not only that, how he's getting his own deals too back in KC, guys. So we cannot wait to share his story. He's going to be here next week. So super excited to have him on. It's going to be awesome. You're going to hear how a 19-year-old, 18-year-old doing deals.
Yeah.
So cool. And how you can too. We're going to give you all those tricks and tips for free, guys. So we will see y'all.
Thanks,
next
Evan.
week.
Yeah, I think Evan just dropped the link for our event there. So appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Evan.
Woohoo. Be there and bring a friend.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful Tuesday.
And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.